Animal crackers in my soup. Now that song is going to be stuck in your head all day long. Hey folks, how's it going? I am going to be talking about a movie that was just recently released here on Netflix. It is called Animal Crackers. I had a few folks reach out saying, hey, check out this movie and also look into its production and the story of its origin. And I was like, okay, let's see. I watched the movie and my first impressions were, wow, I did not realize that Wonder Park made a sequel already. Like, am I wrong? Look at that. It looks like Wonder Park. I thought that was the same bear from that movie. So the movie itself was done by a guy named Scott Christian Sava. He came up with the idea in 2010. I believe it was some kind of graphic novel inspired by his sons. His sons were role-playing, saying, hey, Dad, we're going to eat some animal crackers and we'll turn into the animals that we eat. And he's like, oh, idea, that could be a good movie. In the process, he reached out to Tony Bancroft, who is an old Disney, like he was an animator. I believe he was a director for Disney. I have to check. I know that he was heavily involved with Disney back in the day, like the Renaissance and I believe the early 2000s. So you've got some good talent involved in this film on the direction, writing side. But this movie went through like distribution hell. I don't know the exact story precisely because I'm just reciting it off of memory, but it has something to do where the film wanted a traditional release in movie theaters. And the film was picked up by Harvey Weinstein, so you know it's already a tremendous start when you got him on your team. And then there was something about how he dropped it, how there were some Chinese investors, how there was some other guy in Hollywood named Kavana who was apparently pretty scummy, and his company went into bankruptcy. This movie, Animal Crackers, was shopped around all over the place, and it was looking like it wasn't going to happen. Like, the movie itself was released, I believe, overseas in like certain locations in 2017, but it never was truly released here in the US. But who would have guessed? Like, who would have guessed that because of the virus, that it would actually lead to Animal Crackers getting a second chance? Because at this point, it's like, we can't release our movie in theaters, they're closed. Where can we put it? Netflix is like, hey, check it out, we're absolutely loaded. Look at our market capital, we'll buy your movie, we'll distribute it. So Animal Crackers, after years of production, after years of being bounced around from place to place trying to find distributors, it finally found a home on Netflix, and I think that's pretty cool. Like, it really is a success story of how these folks were determined to keep this movie alive, and I respect that. Now, the movie itself, it was okay. It was not terrible, it wasn't fantastic, it was like, okay, this is a movie that was just okay. Like, that's how I'd say it. It was just all right. It was from a Spanish studio called, I believe, oh gosh, Blue Studios Dream or something like that. I'll put the name of the studio right here. So it was a small studio, a smaller budget, the team itself having like a tremendous voice acting cast. I mean, like the cast of voice actors they had, you got like Ian McKellen, you've got Jim from The Office, John Krasinski. You got his wife, Emily Blunt, who's also a fantastic actress and a voice actor. You've got, I was surprised with this one, Sylvester Stallone was in this. Gilbert Godfrey was in this. You got, oh gosh, there were some other big names in here. Raven Simone was a voice in here too. You got a good cast of voice actors. Danny DeVito, ladies and gentlemen. Can this man do no wrong? Seriously, this is like one of my favorite people ever when it comes to Hollywood. He is just a fantastic guy. So, a wonderful voice cast. And with that voice cast, it's kind of attached to a meh story to me. So before I get to the story, let's talk about the animation. The animation, you have the character designer from Despicable Me working on this movie in the same role. And that's why, because I'm watching this film and I'm like, this looks a lot like Wonder Park. It looks a lot like Despicable Me. And it's like, oh, well, it's the same guy who worked on that film working on this one. So there you go. And, you know, it's stylized. I appreciate that it's not straight up humans, because whenever movies do that, like animated films do, like, let's try to be as accurate to humans as possible. Yeah, not my cup of tea. I prefer stylization. And in that regard, this movie kind of falls into the Illumination bracket. Again, makes sense because of what I just said before with the character designer. If you would have showed me this film and said, hey, this is either from Pixar, Disney, or Illumination, which one is it from? Truth be told, again, it's not from any of them, but I would have said, oh, this looks like an Illumination film, just because of the quality. And that's not me having a jab saying this movie is ugly or poorly done. It just looks like it's on the lower side of the spectrum when it comes to the budget, which is the truth. It's a lower budget film. So you're not having the same amount of money to really clean this up and make it look fantastic. There are moments where I see like body animation with the physics where I'm like, yeah, that looks a bit off. Like there's a scene where a dog ran off in the background and the way it interacted with the ground, it seemed off to me. But then you look at the facial animation of the characters and it's like, it's good, it's decent, it's competent, and I do appreciate it. It's like in the grand scheme of big studios out there, this film can at least say, yes, we can compete with you, here's our film. But you'll see like, let's say, Onward or How to Train Your Dragon or other big films from big studios and go, well, clearly Animal Crackers doesn't have the same budget or spruced up like quality to it. Once more, I'm not trying to have a go at it saying it's ugly. I don't think it's ugly. It's just there is a difference. Now, the story, on the other hand, that's where I take my biggest issues. Off the bat, they introduced this film with a back in 1960s thing. We're introduced to a circus. In this circus, you've got these two brothers running it. One guy named Horatio, who's voiced by Ian McKellen. He's the main villain of the film. And they get this other brother, I think his name was Buffalo Bob. And they were told, we're like, oh, they run the circus. Okay, they're doing a fantastic job. Then there is this character, a girl character, voiced by Tara Strong, who shows up. She's like, oh, I want to fall in love with Bob here. And Horatio's jealous. These two want to get married. And Horatio's like, brother, it's either me or her. So you choose. Me in the circus or your lady friend over there. So when that was presented to me, and hey, for the record, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm stupid. Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But the way they present that, I thought they meant like Horatio's going to kick the brother out of the circus. No, it was Horatio saying, I'll leave the circus. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I guess I was more under the impression that Horatio is like, brother, you can leave the circus and go off with your wife. And it's like, well, that wasn't a tough decision. Of course he's going to stay with the circus and keep his job and what he loves to do and also marry this girl. It's a win-win. So see ya. That was weird. I don't know. That felt weird to me. Then there was another time skip. And then there was another time skip. And it's just, I'm not a fan of time jumps. That can be kind of a bit bloated with how you try to explain things and you can get lost in it. It wasn't overly complicated. It just feels like, okay, there's a lot of setup here and for a film that's kind of all over the place with what it's trying to tell. And that doesn't even include the mechanics and the logistics of how you use the Animal Crackers box, which I'll explain here in a bit. Main characters, Zoe and Owen. They fell in love. Owen's uncle was Bob the Builder, Buffalo Bob, and he wants to also be in the circus. Well, Zoe's dad is like the owner of some dog food company, and he's like, I want to have my daughter, who's voiced by that guy who's the voice of Rex from Toy Story, I forget his name. He's like, I want to have my daughter marrying some low-life scum from the circus, or you can come work for me and then you can marry her. Again, confusion here, because it sounds like the daughter is really on board with this circus. She loves it. How about you just tell the dad to piss off and then go get married to this woman and stay at the circus? See, stuff like that's confusing. It feels like what they're trying to set up and put the pressure on saying, oh, here's one choice or the other. It's like the first decision with the guy leaving his brother. Well, yeah, it's his circus and he gets to marry the girl. Duh. Or this regard, hey, you can either quit the circus and come work at the dog factory, or you can not and just stay at the circus and marry my daughter regardless. That's another obvious answer, but he did not take that path. It's just confusing. That kind of threw me off. So basically, you got Owen trying to earn the admiration of Zoe's father, I guess. That's his thing, I suppose. That's his arc. And in the process, he discovers the animal crackers, which, by the way, wasn't introduced until like 35 minutes into the film. Now, up to that point, I was getting bored. 35 minutes into this film, and I was looking at my watch going like, were we gonna do anything here? This feels just kind of meh. Then they finally got to the animal crackers, which this is how it works. The box is magic. It was given to the first couple, the original owner, Bob and his wife. These cookies are magical. You eat the cookie, you become the animal. And then in the box, a human cookie is generated. And that's your cookie. And you eat that human cookie as an animal to turn back into human. Now, in the process, these cookies are like, they regenerate. So once you eat, like, let's say I eat an elephant cookie, I turn into an elephant. My human cookie goes into the box, but an elephant cookie will go back into the box. But the human cookie, if it's destroyed, won't regenerate, even though we're told every other cookie in the box for the animals does regenerate. It's confusing. I feel like for kids or parents or whatever, even for myself, I'm like, wait, what? How does this work? Okay, whatever. You eat cookies, you become animals. That's all I gotta know, I guess. That's the only thing that matters to me. I think they could have better utilized the animal cracker magic. They could have done more with that plot point, and it felt like it wasn't really utilized until the very end when there was some random fight at the circus and you got animals turning into other animals fighting each other. It's like this movie has heart, and I have so much admiration for the folks who are like, we will not let this movie die. Like, you've got artists who are like, we want to tell our story. Yo, that's awesome. Mad respect. The story, though, not so good. The animation, it's okay. It's solid for something that was made back in like the mid-2010s. Not bad. It's okay. Doesn't really compare to like DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar, even Illumination, but it is competent. And I guess it showing up on Netflix actually makes the most sense. I was thinking, would my nieces want to see this? Yeah, I think they would. I think my nieces, who are like 8 and 7 or whatever, they would enjoy this. Kids would enjoy this. Parents watching it with their kids would enjoy it. But if you're being more critical of it with its story, nah, you're kind of losing me. I don't think it's as good. That being said, I admire the gumption of the studio, of the folks who made this. I hope they do it again. And this time they have a smoother transition with getting their product to the finale. So yes, guys, do it again. Let's see if you can try to make something better this time around. But for this particular film, Animal Crackers, I would give it like maybe a 4 or 4.5 out of 10. So, all right, folks, if you've seen the movie, hey, maybe I'm being harsh or maybe I'm missing something. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye.